Welcome to Shad's Guitar Show. Whether it's the gear or the players who made the gear famous, this podcast is about all things guitar. Well, hey everyone, welcome into Shad's Guitar Show. Thank you for joining me for another episode. And it is Christmas, right? Almost Christmas. I think when this episode comes out, it'll be, halfway, maybe around the middle of December or almost. And I'm hoping that this time of year finds you happy and healthy and enjoying time with family and friends and just looking forward to Christmas and then on to an awesome 2026 where, we all, I'm sure, are hopeful that great things are going to happen. And, but anyway, so one of the things that I've been preparing for, you guys know I'm a church player, so we do a lot of Christmas music at church. But I also am part of a group where it's called Beer and Hymns. But what we do is we get together a couple of times a year and put on concerts at a local tavern where we do, during the year, we would do just normal songs. Sometimes we'll do Halloween themed, we'll do those songs, but we always do Christmas. And so we are rehearsing and getting everything ready and together for the upcoming event, which is actually next Monday, which I guess doesn't mean anything to you if I don't know what date this is coming out. I think it will already have happened when you're listening to this, but the point is, there's a lot of really cool Christmas music out there, but I wanted to talk about the story behind the guitar on one of the most famous guitar-driven Christmas songs ever recorded, and that is, of course, Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree. So I want to get into who played on that song, just some of the gear that was used, and just kind of dissect that song a little bit, because it's a great song and it's one that's a lot of fun to learn. And if you're in any kind of cover band or anything that way, this time of year you're more than likely playing the parts and playing the song, because it is a crowd favorite and a lot of people love it. And it's a song that if you do any kind of Christmas music playing, you probably either have learned it or will get around to learning it at some point. So let's dive into Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree. All right, so today we're talking about a holiday classic that somehow feels forever fresh, youthful, and forever rockin'. Yes, of course, we're talking about Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree. This song was recorded in 1958 by Brenda Lee when she was only 13 years old, and it's primarily built around a guitar part that has become one of the most instantly recognizable Christmas music riffs in history. But who played the guitar? What amp was he using? What guitar was in his hands? And why does it still sound so perfect more than 60 years later? The iconic guitar part on Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree was played by none other than Hank Garland. If you're a guitar nerd, especially jazz, country, session player fan, you already know the legend. Garland at the time was the first call Nashville session guitarist. He was the guy producers hired when they wanted something tasteful, energetic, and flawlessly executed on as close to the first take as possible. He played on numerous hits by Elvis Presley, Patsy Cline, Roy Orbison, and pretty much every Nashville star that you can name from the late 50s and early 60s. But Christmas, well, he nailed that too. His playing on Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree is a masterclass. Rockabilly flair, country twang, jazz-influenced voice leading, perfectly damped muting, and clean but snappy tone. And it walks the line that makes the song feel rock and roll, but still warm and friendly, and it's 100% Garland. Okay, so while there are no known session photos from that time, all historical accounts and interviews from his Nashville sessions confirm what Garland was likely using in that era. And here's the most likely gear, supported by interviews with fellow session musician and Garland's own known equipment history. Primary guitar, Gibson ES350, or a similar Gibson archtop with P90s. Garland famously played Gibson ES350s, his main rockabilly and jazz boxes, ES300s, and later on a Birdland, but that came slightly after this 1958 session, so that guitar we can rule out. Most session historians believe that Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree's tone matches his ES350 the closest. Full hollow body warmth, fast attack, clear treble bite, P90 single coil articulation. And this is exactly the sound on the record. Clean but punchy with the unmistakable 50s Gibson hollow body shimmer. Now for amps, he was probably using either a Fender Tweed Deluxe or a Bassman. And in the late 1950s, Nashville studios were almost universally using Fender Tweed amps. And Hank Garland is known to have used Fender Twin Deluxes, 5E3s, Fender Tweed Bassmans, and occasionally a Tweed Pro. But for this session, the tonal clues point to a Tweed Deluxe. Low wattage, natural compression, clean at low volume, warm mids, round, blooming lows. The guitar isn't overdriven, just the classic lightly pushed Tweed sparkle. Other notable gear, flat wound strings, almost certainly. Nearly all players in that era used them. The muted percussive attack in the intro riff screams heavy gauge flats. Fingerstyle and hybrid picking. Garland was famous for mixing both. Listen to the riff. The snap, the separation of notes match his hybrid style. Minimal effects. Of course, in that time, there were no effects pedals. So minimal effects on this. It was straight guitar into amplifier, microphone into the, console. There were no reverb pedals, no compression, just the room, the console, and Garland's hands. All right, so the next time you put on Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, listen specifically to these things. The precision in the muted rockabilly riff, the jazzy chromaticism in his fills, the punch of the P90 pickups, the warmth of the Tweed amp, the almost effortless rhythm stability he brings to the song. It's a perfect blend of styles, all played by a teenager? No, by one of the greatest session guitarists of all time. And here's the fun twist. While Brenda Lee was only 13, Hank Garland was 27, already a studio veteran and helping define what would later become the Nashville sound. All right, so that's the story behind the guitar on one of the most beloved Christmas songs ever recorded. Hank Garland. A Gibson archtop, a Fender Tweed amp, and a riff that basically wrote the blueprint for holiday rock and roll. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you follow Shad's Guitar Show for more episodes, digging into the gear behind the hits. And hey, go plug in your favorite guitar, turn on some reverb, maybe grab a hollow body and do a little Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree yourself. And I always like to leave you with a little bit of a musical example, if I can, of the subject at hand. Now, I don't have a recording of myself playing Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, although I have played it many times. But I did a nice jazzy version of White Christmas using a vintage ES-175 plugged into a Tweed Fender Deluxe. And I think this is a great representation of that tone. And I hope you dig this. And also, I just want to say that I thank you so much for having been a part of the show. For those of you who've listened through all the episodes, and if you're just joining, thank you for coming along for the ride. And sincerely, I hope you guys all have an amazing Christmas, and I will talk to you next episode.